Welcome to my channel, where you learn English through the most inspiring stories in the world. Today, you'll not only practice your English listening, but also learn the secrets of success from one of the greatest investors of all time, Warren Buffett. If you dream of becoming rich, let me tell you something important. 80% of the richest people in the world built their wealth on their own. They didn't wait for someone to hand them success. They worked for it, step by step. And Warren Buffett's story is a perfect example of this. He was not born rich. He didn't have connections or shortcuts, but today he's one of the wealthiest men in the world. And here's the best part. His life is full of lessons that anyone, yes, even you, can use to succeed. So, get ready. This isn't just a story. It's a guide for your own journey to success. And trust me, if you stay with me, you will walk away with knowledge that can change your life. Let's start from the very beginning. Warren Edward Buffett was born on August 30th, 1930, in a small town called Omaha, Nebraska. He was the second child of Howard Buffett, a stockbroker and politician, and his wife, Layla Buffett. Warren had two sisters, and they grew up in a small, modest house. Even as a child, Warren was different. While other kids were playing with toys, he was counting coins. By the age of 6, he had already discovered how money worked. One day, he walked to a grocery store near his house and bought a pack of chewing gum for 25 cents. He sold each piece for 5 cents, making a small profit. This was his first business. At 11 years old, Warren did something most adults don't even understand. He bought his first stock. It was a company called City Service, and he purchased 3 shares for $38 each. But soon, the stock's price fell to $27. Many people would panic, but Warren didn't. He waited. He believed in the power of patience. Finally, the stock rose to $40, and he sold it. But guess what happened next? The stock kept rising, first to $100, then to $200. This taught Warren an important lesson. Great things come to those who wait. From then on, Warren was unstoppable. He began exploring every way to make money. At 13, he started delivering newspapers. Every morning while the city was still asleep, Warren rode his bicycle through the streets, tossing newspapers onto doorsteps. He worked hard, saving every penny. By the time he was 16 years old, he had saved $300, an enormous amount at the time. But what did he do with this money? Did he spend it on games or clothes? No. Warren used it to buy a 40-acre farm and rented it to a farmer. Imagine this. At 16, Warren Buffett was already earning passive income like a professional investor. Warren wasn't just a businessman. He was a learner. He loved reading books about finance and business. One of his favorite books was 1,000 Ways to Make $1,000. This book opened his mind to the possibilities of wealth. He also had a love for numbers. At school, his classmates thought he was a math genius because he could calculate things faster than anyone else. But Warren wasn't just good with numbers. He was good at seeing opportunities. Warren's family played a big role in shaping who he became. His father, Howard, was his role model. Howard taught him the value of honesty, hard work, and responsibility. His mother, Layla, was strict but supportive. She wanted Warren to succeed and encouraged him to follow his dreams. But Warren's journey wasn't always easy. Sometimes he felt lonely because he was so different from other kids. While they were dreaming of becoming athletes or movie stars, Warren dreamed of building businesses. He once said, "I knew I was going to be rich." I never doubted it for a second. If you're listening to this and thinking, "I don't have much money," or "I don't know where to start," remember this. Warren Buffett started with almost nothing. He didn't have fancy gadgets, expensive clothes, or a rich family. All he had was a desire to learn and the courage to try. After graduating high school in 1947, Warren was only 17 years old, but he already knew what he wanted to do in life. He wanted to become rich through investing, but his father insisted that Warren attend college, so he enrolled at the University of Pennsylvania. However, Warren wasn't happy there. He thought many of the classes were boring and irrelevant. After 2 years, he transferred to the University of Nebraska, where he graduated with a degree in business at just 19 years old. Even though Warren was young, he was already miles ahead of others in terms of financial knowledge. While in college, he worked odd jobs and kept investing his savings in small ventures. By the time he graduated, Warren had saved around $10,000, a massive amount in those days. Warren wanted to learn from the best, so he applied to Harvard Business School. But to his surprise, he was rejected. Instead of giving up, Warren saw this as an opportunity. He discovered that one of his idols, Benjamin Graham, taught at Columbia University. Benjamin Graham was a famous investor and the author of the book, The Intelligent Investor. Graham believed in something called value investing, the idea of buying undervalued companies and waiting for their true value to be recognized. Warren was fascinated by this. At Columbia, Warren impressed Graham so much that he became one of his favorite students. Graham's lessons would shape Warren's investment philosophy for the rest of his life. He often said, "Investing is simple, but not easy." After finishing his studies at Columbia in 1951, Warren tried to work for Benjamin Graham's investment firm. But Graham turned him down, saying Warren didn't have enough experience. Again, Warren didn't give up. He returned to Omaha and started working as a stockbroker. During this time, Warren continued to study companies and investments. He spent hours reading annual reports, analyzing businesses, and looking for opportunities. In 1952, Warren married Susan Thompson, who became one of the most important people in his life. Warren's life wasn't just about money. He valued his family deeply and always made time for them, even when he was busy building his career. In 1954, Warren finally got the break he was waiting for. Benjamin Graham offered him a job at his investment firm in New York. Warren worked closely with Graham, learning everything he could about value investing. 2 years later, in 1956, Warren Buffett had returned to Omaha and started his investment partnership in 1956 with $105,000 from family and friends. From this small beginning, Warren began laying the foundation of the Berkshire Hathaway empire, a name that would later symbolize one of the greatest success stories in financial history. But his journey wasn't just about making money, it was about making the right decisions, staying consistent, and trusting the power of patience. One of Warren's early investments was in a struggling textile company called Berkshire Hathaway. In 1962, he noticed that the company's stock was undervalued and began purchasing shares. However, this wasn't an entirely smooth journey. When the owner of Berkshire Hathaway tried to lowball Warren in a buyout deal, Warren felt betrayed and decided to take control of the company out of principle. He soon realized that the textile business was declining and shifted the company's focus to investments. This decision transformed Berkshire Hathaway into a holding company that owned stakes in some of the world's biggest companies. It was no longer just a textile company. It became Warren's investment vehicle to grow his wealth and influence. Warren's strategy was simple. Find great companies, buy them at a reasonable price, and hold on to them for a long time. This strategy led him to invest in businesses like American Express, 1964. After a scandal caused the company's stock price to plummet, Warren saw an opportunity. He believed in the strength of the brand and invested heavily. Over time, the company recovered and became one of Warren's most successful investments. The Washington Post, 1973. Warren befriended Katharine Graham, the CEO of the Washington Post, and invested in the newspaper. His support helped the company grow, and it eventually became one of the most respected media outlets in the world. Coca-Cola, 1988. This was one of his boldest moves. Warren invested over $1 billion in Coca-Cola, a company he believed had unmatched brand loyalty. His faith in Coca-Cola paid off immensely, as it became a cornerstone of his portfolio. Warren observed that Coca-Cola wasn't just a beverage. It was a global brand tied to happiness and celebration. People drank it at birthdays, holidays, and even during moments of relaxation. Apple, 2016. For many years, Warren avoided technology stocks, claiming he didn't understand them. But in 2016, his perspective changed. He recognized that Apple wasn't just a tech company, it was a consumer products powerhouse with a loyal customer base. Under Tim Cook's leadership, Apple created products that became integral to people's lives, from the iPhone to the Apple Watch. Warren saw